Getting locked out of a Disney World park, being stranded at a resort, and running out of time, these are the top 10 biggest disappointments we've ever encountered in Disney World. So you can make sure to prepare and or avoid them before they threaten to ruin your vacation. Yep, as always, we make the mistakes so you don't have to. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. Now I know we're a Disney-focused YouTube channel and all, but that doesn't mean every single Disney World trip we take is perfect every time. The good news, our biggest vacation disappointments turn into great cautionary tales that you can learn from. So let's hash out our top 10 Disney World disappointments to make sure you know what to prepare for before you go. First up is the closures. Well, there's this sinking gut feeling that you'll experience when you see a ride or attraction go dark in the parks, especially if it's one that you've placed at the top of your priority list. But unfortunately, there are several reasons that something like this could happen. A ride could have a scheduled routine maintenance and be down for the next few weeks, or maybe even the next several months. A storm could shut down all the outdoor rides, at least that's temporary. A ride could break down and be temporarily unavailable for an unforeseen amount of time, potentially the rest of the day. Someone could get sick on a ride, requiring it to be shut down for a much-needed cleanup. And there could be an early closure for a park that you weren't aware of. This sometimes happens when Disney closes the park for a exclusive celebration, or if they're doing like a cast member appreciation night, or if someone rents out the park. Those should be on the calendar early enough that you can check it out, but I've definitely been there not knowing that the park was going to close early and all of a sudden the park closes early. Or a ride could permanently close to make way for a new one. You get the idea. There's lots of factors at play here. And while I wish I could tell you it's easy enough to wave a magic wand and sprinkle some pixie dust to help a ride go back online, it's really out of our hands and unfortunately out of yours too. But instead of being smacked in the face with a heaping pile of disappointment if something like this happens during your next visit, here are some ways you can brace yourself for the probability of a ride closure. First, check the Disney World website for any ride closure announcements. Disney usually does a stellar job of warning us about rides that are going to be down for refurb before the refurbs take place. Like months in advance, they let us know. And by us, I mean all of us, because they post it on their website. So if you want to make sure your priority ride isn't going to be in refurb mode during your trip, just keep an eye on the ride's main page via the Disney World website and check back on it periodically to make sure it's still good to go and they haven't announced any closures or refurbs. If a scheduled refurb is about to happen, Disney will list it in orange font at the top of the page so you can easily see it right off the bat. You can also check out our latest news videos that post every Saturday on our YouTube channel. That's where we're going to let you know of any closures we hear about that are coming down the grapevine. You can also join our newsletter. The link to sign up for that is right in the description. It's completely free and we put a lot of information about ride closures, and then we also give you reminders when things are about to close. Okay, second, check on those hourly forecast updates. We're going to talk more about weather later because it deserves more of a call out than just a tiny mention right here. But in general, if you know there's going to be a certain time of the day when Orlando's going to start raining, try to plan any of your outdoor ride-throughs at least a couple of hours before the storms roll in and shut those attractions down. So every outdoor ride, I try to hit that in the morning if I can, especially if I'm there during hurricane season. 3, don't let a ride breakdown give you reason to panic. Most of the time, cast members can get things back up and running again so that you can experience that under the weather ride later on in the day. But the problem comes from whether or not you should wait out the temporary delay inside the queue until the ride's back online, or step out of line and come back when the My Disney Experience app tells you it's working again. If you just hopped in line when a ride breaks down, then don't double down and just stand there at the tail end of things. Go ahead and step out and come back later on, because you don't want to waste time when you could be in line for a different ride that's actually working. But if you've already put in the time and you've been in line for a while when things start to go south, I'd say a good rule of thumb is to wait about 15 minutes before deciding if you're going to hop out of line or not, since sometimes the delay is nothing more than the ride slowing down to help someone who needs a little extra assistance getting on and off. A cast member may also come around to let you know if a ride is going to be down for longer than the wait is worth. So if that does happen, best to pivot and keep an eye on the My Disney Experience app so you know the exact moment it comes back online again. I hate it when this happens. You study up on the menus for years. You watch the videos, you make the reservations, you allow yourself to get excited for once about something big, and then that really expensive restaurant you were so eager to try ends up being not as good as you thought it was going to be. This happens way more often than you think. Now, the DFB team and I have created a free PDF that lists our favorite Disney World restaurants across each of the parks, the resorts, and Disney Springs, just to give you an idea of which places we think are the most consistent and worth your hard-earned money. And you can pick that up right now by scanning the QR code you see on the screen or by clicking on the link in the description for disneyfoodblog.com/top restaurants. That being said, everyone has different dining preferences, and what's going to work for your family may not completely align with our personal favorites. That's okay. Different strokes for different folks, and that's why you're going to want to do your own bit of research and make sure you know all the Disney World restaurant advantages and disadvantages before you commit to something that could really sour your day. And of course, that's also why we've got that huge DFB guide to Walt Disney World dining over at dfbstore.com. This guide is going to break it all down for you. Every single restaurant in Disney World, all 200 plus of them that we've been to multiple times, the pros, the cons, the little restaurant nuances that maybe other folks aren't thinking about warning you about, but we will, because even our personal least favorite restaurants might be exactly what you want, or our top recommendations might not actually be your cup of tea when all is said and done. We want you to know every angle before you commit. While this DFB guide isn't free like our top restaurants PDF is, I will give it to you at a real nice discounted price. Just type in code YouTube before you check out and we'll tack that book discount onto your order, just as an extra thanks for trusting us and thanks for watching. Okay, this is the worst. So you purchase the Disney balloon and it floats away. You buy the Disney bubble wand and drop it within seconds. You get the ice cream cone with the cute little Mickey ears from the Plaza Ice Cream Parlor, and wouldn't you know, it splats on the sidewalk. Great. There goes your souvenir and snack money down the drain for nothing. But hold up, not all hope is lost yet, and this is one of the reasons why I love Disney World. Many times, Disney cast members will take pity on you, and just as long as you have the receipt proving that close to same-day purchase, I have definitely done this with something I'd purchased the day before or a couple days before, they'll be able to hook you up with a replacement souvenir or snack to make up for the damaged one. Now, be mindful about this and don't take a cast member's generosity for granted. This is only something you'll want to do if you immediately damage or lose something you just got. So if you've already eaten halfway through that ice cream cone before it plops down on the ground, you're just gonna have to count it as a loss at that point most of the time. But if your bubble wand breaks or the train's wheel falls off, yeah, they'll probably get you another one. When you watch a Disney World commercial, you see all the good. You see the castle, the fireworks, the kids dressed up and meeting their favorite characters, the smiles and the laughter on all the rides. But you know what you don't see? The burnout and the heat exhaustion and the huge ride lines and the family meltdowns. Oh my gosh, I just saw a mom in the France pavilion the other day. Her daughter was just on the ground screaming, and every time she touched her and tried to pick her up, the kid would scream even more. And I was like, oh, mama, I have been there. And I just felt for her so much because I know how embarrassed she was. Anyway, you don't care about that, but let me tell you, we've all been there if that's happened to you. The internal struggle of you wondering if you actually even like Disney or if you now suddenly hate everything about it. Right, we've all been there. I've personally been there more times than I care to admit. But that's why you're subscribed to DFB in the first place, right? You want someone who's going to be able to show you all the magic of the parks, but also be completely honest about how physically and emotionally draining a big trip like this can be. From one exhausted park goer to another, believe me when I say you're going to want to plan out your slog-riddled Disney afternoons accordingly to give yourself a break. Prioritize those indoor shows so you can sit and relax in some AC. Have your lightning lanes lined up so you don't have to worry about the super long ride lines, or at least avoid getting in those lines during peak afternoon crowd times and heat. Book a late table service lunch to fuel your body up and recharge your mind. And don't be afraid to wave the white flag if you need to and head back to your hotel for a little bit to take naps or swim in the pool. Keep that communication going between your family so that if everybody just wants to ditch out, you can just ditch out. I was just in Disney World for 2 days, and granted I went really hard, but I basically had to sleep for a whole day when I got home just to recover. Okay, been there, done that, not a fun experience. Let's say you're spending the day at Epcot, but you decide to eat dinner at a restaurant in one of the Epcot area resorts, like Cake Bake Shop at Boardwalk or Ale and Compass at Yacht Club, Beaches and Cream at Beach Club, you get it. So let's say dinner starts to go long, and then it's gonna put you past Epcot's park closing time. Now, maybe that's not a big deal if you're already staying at one of the Epcot resorts or you're staying at one of the nearby Skyliner resorts, but if you drove and parked in Epcot that day, dinner might actually put you in a bit of a bind. Unfortunately, once Epcot's closed, same as all the other Disney parks, and they're not going to reopen the gates to let you back in and cross over to their parking lot to claim your car. So that means you're going to have to do one of two things. First, you could rent a rideshare to pick you up from one of the resorts and take you back over to the front of the park to that parking lot. Is it ideal to spend money on this? No, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and a rideshare will be able to drop you off at a park's rideshare area near those front gates so you can easily reclaim your car again. Or two, you can explain the situation to guest relations at the gate and see what their solution for you might be. In some cases, you may be good to just leave your car in the parking lot overnight and come back to reclaim it in the morning without worrying about getting it towed. But once again, I wouldn't gamble on this strategy, and I'd definitely talk to a guest relations cast member about that idea first, since Disney can tow cars over to their car care center if they need to. Okay, so the next disappointment that a lot of us have experienced is that your kid just doesn't really end up liking Disney all that much. Now, this one hurts. There is the chance that your kid is not going to be the happy-go-lucky kid straight out of those Disney commercials. Your kid might be afraid of the rides, or hate meeting the characters, or absolutely break down when the heat gets too intense, or wail for the rest of the day because they didn't get to get that gigantic Stitch plush that they really need. Yeah. You just love spending $1 zillion on that heartwarming experience, right? So you know your kid better than anyone. You probably know your kid more than your own kid knows themselves. So if you were planning on taking them to Disney World, consider what they're really like in everyday life. How do they respond to extreme temperatures or overstimulation? Is it total chaos if you miss nap time? What was the interaction like the last time they met Santa Claus at the mall? Your kids' personal preferences and quirks don't disappear the moment you step onto the Disney scene. In fact, due to how overwhelming a Disney trip can be, their personal quirks will probably be amplified. So yeah, a Disney World trip for you might look a lot different than it will for other families. I've had Disney trips with my kid before where we just rode the Disney buses all day long and then hit up the water parks back to back. Unusual, but he had fun and therefore I had fun too, even if I didn't make it to all my usual Disney haunts. So when you start planning a Disney trip, first off, you need to gauge the situation. Are your kids actually excited and engaged when you talk about these things, or are they kind of apathetic? Because if they're apathetic, maybe now's not the time. Wait until they're older, or just plan to take a Disney adults trip with a friend in the meantime if you're able to make that happen. And if your kids are engaged with the idea, then let them help you plan. I mean, this is their trip too, so have them watch these DFB videos along with you so they can show you which parts of Disney they're most excited to see in person. Then when it comes to creating itineraries for your family, just make sure you're not running those kids ragged so that they're burnt out of the whole get up and go Disney mindset before you even make it to your second day in the parks. I try not to stress out over this one before my vacation, but really, it's hard for it not to at least creep into the back of your mind when you're busy dropping thousands on Disney World park tickets, because it's a valid fear. What happens if you get sick while you're on vacation? Is that it? Do you just wind up coming down with the flu at the start of things and then you don't get the chance to participate in anything fun? That's not just a disappointment, that's depressing. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Getting sick during vacation is the absolute pits. But one of the most important things you can do if you find yourself coming down with a bug is to stay in bed and rest. I know, horrible answer, but it's the truth. Your first instinct may be to tough it out, hoping and praying that maybe the fever's going to break later in the day. But this is dangerous thinking and not only hurts you, but also exposes everyone around you. So don't try to convince yourself that you'll be able to pull a T-Swift and shake it off once you're in the parks, because if you start your day with a sore throat or upset stomach or massive migraine, it's not going to get better by walking thousands of steps in the Florida heat. And what you can do is be honest with yourself and your group and take some time to rest up back in the room. If you're feeling 110% better later in the day, you can always meet up with the rest of your group when things are starting to turn around. If you plan on hiding out at your resort for the day, or at least in the morning so you can grab some extra Z's, but you're really needing some over-the-counter meds, you can always check your resort's gift shop for some basic painkillers. Will they be slightly overpriced? Absolutely. Will they get the job done? Also, yes. Speaking of Dr. Disney, Disney does try their best to help you out as much as they can, even when the under-the-weather circumstances are super crummy. On the My Disney Experience app, you'll see that Disney has partnered with Advent Health to provide their guests with virtual care without you having to leave your hotel room. So if you're starting to feel under the weather, but you don't want to track down an urgent care outside of the Disney bubble, just tap on the 3 horizontal lines on the bottom of the My Disney Experience app and scroll down until you see an option that says Accessibility and Healthcare Services. From there, Disney can lead you to their Advent Health portal, which will be able to help you set up a video doctor's list, adult and pediatric care, prescription delivery, and even rentals for medical equipment and ECVs. That being said, if you're dealing with a major medical emergency, then immediately call 911 first. Always. No questions asked. Disney might be known as a magical place, but a hotel room is a hotel room, even at Disney. And that means you might wind up paying for a really, really expensive room that winds up feeling a little less than magical. Don't get me wrong, staying at a Disney World hotel is usually a blast. You've got great theming, solid restaurants, fun daily activities, impressive pools, comfy beds, and lots of theme park benefits at your disposal. But depending on what you're after, you might also be disappointed in, say, how small the room is, or how your resort is built more like a motel instead of a hotel, where your door opens to an outside walkway instead of an inside one, or how noisy it is having a room right next to the pool, or how long it takes for your hotel bus to loop around and pick everybody up every day, or how much construction is actually taking place during your visit, pulling you out of the immersive atmosphere, or how there's no elevator to your upper level floor, so you have to carry your really tired kids up and down the stairs each night to get to and from your room. Yes, that's a Caribbean beach problem, as we know. Now, if your Disney hotel room in general is not serving the vibes you were hoping for, and it's a situation that can be easily fixed by hotel cast members, then you can speak up. Politely, of course, but speak up. Disney doesn't want you to be disappointed in your hotel room, but they can't fix anything for you if they don't know what to fix. The sooner you can address an issue with your room, the quicker you and Disney can put your heads together and come up with a solution. Now, if there's something you don't like about your hotel that's beyond what Disney can do for you, like if you really want a view of the castle but you didn't pay for a view of the castle, they're not going to change that unless you pay a lot more money. So that's something you need to look into ahead of time. For example, if you don't want a really sprawling, spaced out hotel with an internal bus system, then you probably want to avoid staying at places like Old Key West or Saratoga Springs, Port Orleans Riverside, Caribbean Beach, and Coronado Springs. If you want a resort that has more table service dining options, then you probably don't want to book one of the value hotels, unless you're cool with taking a Disney Skyliner from Art of Animation or Pop Century to one of the other nearby Skyliner resorts that has more restaurant variety. And if your kids hate sharing a bed with each other because one always ends up kicking the other or hogging all the blankets, then you probably don't want to book a hotel like All Star Sports or Movies or Pop Century, where the only rooms you're going to find are the 2-bed, 4-person max standard layouts. We got loads of videos out now that really go in depth with what to expect across each of Disney's hotels. But if you want a helping hand in choosing the best resort fit for your family, you might want to reach out to a free but reliable and highly experienced Disney travel agent like our good friends over at Small World Vacations. Seriously, those folks are the best. They can hold your hand through every step of your vacation planning process and make sure you feel confident about where you're going to wind up calling your home away from home. If you want to reach out to them for a free quote, I'll go ahead and add their link down in the description. And also go ahead and watch our Disney Hotel playlist. We got tons and tons, hours and hours of videos about the Disney hotels because I've stayed in all of them and I can be real honest with you about all of them. Okay, high prices are already lame, but what's even more lame is having to pay for, say, your car being towed, or a medical bill, or an extra hotel room if your flight gets delayed, or a no-show fee for a really expensive restaurant thanks to oversleeping your nap. Okay, sometimes the phone alarm just isn't loud enough, okay? Now, it can be a chore just saving enough for your Disney hotel room and food budget and flights and park tickets, but it's still important to save a few extra funds beyond those key vacation expenses just in case you have to splurge on something more unexpected. I usually recommend saving an extra $100 to $200 plus for possible other trip incidentals. That way, if something does happen that requires you to spend more money than you were planning to, you don't have to dip into your checking or savings account to cover those costs. You'll already have a safety net set aside that'll help make a stressful situation a little bit less so. Okay, now you knew we would talk about this one because this is a disappointment that a lot of people end up experiencing in Disney World that they're not expecting. Because Orlando is located on the East Coast, not too far away from the Atlantic Ocean, they enter into what's known as a hurricane season every summer that trails on through the fall. It's June to November. It's like half the year. Now, if you're planning on traveling in the midst of hurricane season, that doesn't mean that a hurricane's for sure gonna pop up and throw off your vacation's groove. However, it's always best to be prepared, just in case it threatens to. So, let's say the National Hurricane Center for the Orlando area has just issued a hurricane warning before your trip begins. Yay! If you call Disney World's vacation packages phone number 407-939-7675 within 7 days of your scheduled arrival date, a cast member should be able to help cancel your resort reservation or reschedule your trip for a later day with no cancellation fees. And if your previous trip had discounts attached, a cast member should be able to help you track down new discounts to apply to your rescheduled vacation. But let's say you're already in Disney World when all the hurricane chaos is underway. Disney World hotels are built to be very resilient against these bigger storms. In fact, some locals will even book stays at Disney World to ride out the worst of the hurricanes. And although it's a major bummer to be cooped up in a hotel when you were planning on having full back-to-back Disney park days, Disney tries to soften the blow by providing guests with affordable sack lunches, setting up a few games in the lobbies, and sometimes even offering free games in their arcades. Last one's not a guarantee, but we have seen it happen before. And who knows, you might just see a few of your favorite characters stop by for a meet and greet too. If you want to learn more about riding out a hurricane while visiting Disney World, check out one of our newest videos up on the channel now called Everything You Need to Know About Hurricane Season in Disney World in 15 minutes, where we tell you exactly that. You can make the printable schedules, you can line up your itinerary perfectly, you can even call for weekly family meetings leading up to your departure day so everyone knows the game plan and has their t-shirt. But when it comes to how much you're actually going to get done in a single Disney World trip, be proud of yourself if you manage to check off more than 50% of your original Disney goals, because it's near impossible to do it all. And that's not just factoring in the exhaustion you might desperately try to push past. It's also covering the other things we talked about today that are simply completely out of your control, like the ride breakdowns and the weather and the illnesses and the unexpected hiccups where you'll find yourself having to pay for a new tire after running over a nail in the road. Things happen, and when they happen, you'll have to pivot and make new plans and sacrifice some of those items on the spreadsheet to help keep the momentum going and spirits high. Instead of making everything on your trip itinerary a must-do, must-see, choose 4 or 5 things that you want to prioritize. That way, it feels like an accomplishment when you get them all done, or at least most of them done, and everything else that you manage to see can just be the icing, sprinkles, gravy, and cherries on top of a downright good day. Disappointments be gone. You can't ruin our Disney World trips anymore. But just because you know how to plan around the top Disney World roadblocks doesn't mean the planning stops here. If you want to keep preparing for that big Disney vacation with your family this afternoon and evening, consider checking out our Things I'll Never Do in Disney Springs video next. And don't forget to pick up our free Top Restaurants guide over at disneyfoodblog.com/top restaurants today. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.